you can't neglect the power of data in the agentic AI era. You need to do a spring clean of your data. And there's this principle called garbage in, garbage out, meaning if you have the best agentic systems and terrible data, it's not going to work. And that's what's on my mind. I'm Harold, and this is my Curious Corner. So I have gone down different rabbit holes with Lori.
How are you using AI to learn? What skills are you developing with it in your personal life or in your professional?
With Laura and Michelle.
AI shouldn't be shaping the future of learning and development. We should.
You don't have to wait to be invited to have a seat at the table. You have a voice. You have the ability to make a difference, to influence a different outcome.
With Ashwin.
The whole concept of one L&D person sitting with one tool and producing some kind of media, that whole thing is basically going if it's not already gone.
And with Nicki and Hannah exploring what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI.
Our role is to really help people understand what it is, take away the fear.
AI helps us teach faster, but only humans help people grow.
AI is hailed as the answer to doing more with less, but we all know that's not actually the right thing to do with this stuff.
AI is profoundly changing the ground we stand on as L&D leaders. If you use it correctly, you can improve your function, you can improve your effectiveness, and how you can be a strategic performance enabler in your business. If you don't use it correctly, you can solve the wrong problem faster, put yourself back, or worst case, lose credibility as a learning and development team. So your ability to navigate AI and to change within it and successfully come out on the other end directly correlates to how effective you are as an L&D leader. As such, I wanted to provide you different perspectives and different angles on what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. With Lori, we kicked off with a curiosity episode. We had blue sky thinking. What's going on in terms of AI? Where are things heading? Do we need courses in the future? Or will the future of L&D be fine-tuning agentic coaches that deliver you adaptive and personalized learning in your flow of work? Where should we move as L&D leaders? Should we make friends with IT? Should we go down those rabbit holes? What should we focus on and what should we not focus on? So Lori really kicked us off by providing a really interesting overview of where things are at and where we're heading. What should we keep and what should we throw away on the fire when it comes to L&D? As you may have heard in the episode, less buzzwords, more strategic impact, more collaboration with IT and clear resources and real stakeholder engagements, and less shiny new toys and so forth. So with Lori, you got a really interesting way to kick off this series on what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. Then we transitioned a little bit into meeting with Laura and Michelle. We explored their book, The L&D Leader, and we used what's called the TRI navigation principles, tuning in, responding, and improving, to provide us with a map and a compass of how we can navigate change in the AI era. We saw how you can tune in and be aligned with the business, specifically stakeholder management, how you can then respond to some of that change, and how you can improve your function. They shared an example of how a large optician actually tuned into their business, got really close with their executives and retail operations team, provided the right data for them to see the vision of the training program, and then they were able to deliver real change through that stakeholder engagement. AI is going to change a lot of things, but it's not going to change how we engage with humans. It's not going to change how we do change management or that stakeholder relationship. So it's more important than ever for L&D to get out of their bubble and start finding spheres of influence, start finding really expensive problems to solve, problems that move the needle, where you can find these by tuning into the business. You can then deliver, or you can then use those to put into your learning strategy how you can improve by proving how you're impacting the business. Let's say I'm a new L&D leader. I can meet with the sales team. I find out that I have a problem converting opportunities. I take that opportunity to build that into my L&D program, deliver real ways that we can tackle this. And then I work with the sales leader to prove to the business how we've actually improved the conversion rate of salespeople. This is real data-driven L&D. What's so exciting about AI is it's allowing us to reduce the admin work, where you can have agentic AI agents doing admin work for you. They can enroll users, create reports, so you can spend more time being performance consultants with the business. So throughout the chat with Laura and Michelle, there are some really interesting examples they're sharing on what's actually happening on the ground. I highly recommend checking out their book, as well as Lori's book, 8 Levers, where we actually explored how to use these levers to navigate business change. Transitioning a little bit, with Ashwin, we dove into the tech trends that are impacting our industry. We got a real contrarian's look at where are things going. Ashwin has a real finger on the pulse, being the owner of Methodology, his own consulting company, and proudly employing 2 people and 28 AI agents. He's a real builder, and he has a finger on the pulse of what's happening in terms of AI and where are things going. This also relates to his role as a chief AI officer of the LPI. I highly recommend, if you want to find out what's happening in terms of AI developments, check out his articles and writings on LinkedIn, as well as his own AI podcast. Then we transitioned a little bit into speaking to Nicki and Hannah. And I was fortunate enough to actually go on their podcast, where Nicki and Hannah, they were both previously at SJP. Now Hannah is working for another company. I was on their podcast called Every Day is a School Day. This was a really pivotal moment for me, actually, because it's the first time I was ever on a podcast episode. And I got so much out of it. It was so fun. And I really thank both of them for wanting to have me on. And that really inspired me to want to create this podcast. And I got a real practitioner's look at, okay, we have everything that's going on with AI, but how are people implementing it? What is happening boots on the ground? How are you challenged with managing the relationships internally as an L&D team? How are you doing change management? How do you get IT bought into these initiatives that you're doing? So these were really interesting examples that they both shared of what it means to be an L&D leader today and how those things are changing. So throughout these episodes, from Lori kicking us off and walking through the 8 levers of EdTech transformation, to the L&D leader and reviewing Laura and Michelle's recent book, both of which I highly recommend, to looking at the tech trends with Ashwin and diving into the practitioner's look with Nicki and Hannah, I've gotten different perspectives on what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. All of this takes me back to when I went to Iventive, a really interesting conference a few months back, and we were all discussing what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. And some of the perspectives that I was sharing and hearing from others is it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not have all the solutions. In fact, I highly recommend it because the solutions you get might not be in line with what you should actually solve. AI can solve the wrong problems faster. So if you're not clear on the direction you want to go, it can be really difficult to use AI successfully. So my recommendation, be like the bee, go find spheres of influence and expensive problems and weave that into your learning strategy and see how AI can be a tool in your toolbox or an enabler to have you reach your learning strategy to solve these expensive problems. That's the 3-step process I recommend, which aligns with the TRI navigation principles from Laura and Michelle. Tune into the business, find out what's going on, weave all of that into your learning strategy and see how AI can be an enabler there. AI may be the solution, it's not always the solution. So it's important that we don't see AI as a silver bullet. It's a very specific tool that can be used for certain scenarios. The other recommendation I have for L&D leaders is you can't neglect the power of data in the agentic AI era. You need to do a spring clean of your data. And there's this principle called garbage in, garbage out, meaning if you have the best agentic systems and terrible data, it's not going to work. If you have a really good car, but no oil or petrol or diesel to put in, or power if you have an EV, it's not going to drive. So the data needs to be aligned with your ambition in terms of AI. So here, do a spring clean, work on your data, work on your integration, and get close with your IT team, because this is how you're going to manage agentic at scale and be successful with it. The second recommendation I have is find other peers who are experimenting with AI and where you can share notes. I hope I provided some interesting people to have discussions with between Lori and Ashwin and Laura and Michelle and Nicki and Hannah. These are some of the people I found who had the most interesting perspectives on what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. So find your own forums, groups, discussions, go to events, be a curious L&D leader, and take this time to double down on your own upskilling. And as Lori said in the first episode, how are you using AI to learn? Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. It's very easy for L&D leaders or other business leaders to sit in an ivory tower and deliver on this AI upskilling journey. But how are you upskilling yourself? Personally, I've been really trying to dive into AI from every angle and be a curious cat. I've gone through the Perplexity Business Pro Fellowship, where I've been using Perplexity actively, used a lot of ChatGPT, Claude. I've been building my own gems with Gemini, and I've really tried to just adapt this curious mindset of experimentation and use AI as a brainstorming partner. Think of it like a sparring partner of collaboration. So this is a journey of self-discovery for me, and it's one that's constantly evolving. I don't think you'll be done upskilling yourself on AI, because by the point you know what's going on this week, next week, things are going to completely change. So I've had lots of discussions with peers and L&D leaders, and one of my good friends actually has his own newsletter where he explores AI from different angles as well, but also as part of the Perplexity Fellowship, part of different WhatsApp groups, and really trying to learn from other people than people in L&D as well, and how they're using AI. Find different leaders who are exploring with AI and try to see what they're doing and what I can steal from them. So this is my one takeaway from you. Stay curious, stay explorative, and most importantly, find out the problems you want to solve. It's great to be curious and explorative, but you need that direction. You need that guiding light or North Star of where you want to go. Otherwise, you might do a lot of fun experiments, but don't translate that essentially into business value. So combine those things, curiosity and experimentation, with a real North Star and issues that you want to solve. So this is it for my wrap up of the story arc on what it means to be an L&D leader in the age of AI. I want to thank Lori, Laura, and Michelle, Ashwin, and Nicki and Hannah for their interesting perspectives that taught me lots of new things about this topic. On my next story arc, I'm going to dive into one of my favorite topics, which is skills and how to build a skills-based organization. I'm going to start off by interviewing Corinne Pagano, who's launched a very recent book titled How to Build a Skills-Based Organization, a Blueprint for Organizational Success. So I'm going to interview Corinne, and I'm going to dive into the book, why she wanted to write it, how this changed her perspective, and how do you actually build a skills-based organization? So this really ties with AI as well, making sure your people are ready for the future of work and are provided the right skills to succeed. So I hope you join me on the next story arc, where we're going to speak to Corinne and go through different practitioners' perspectives on how they're building skills-based organizations, what's working, what's not, and how you can get your own tips and tricks. So this has been Harold's Curious Corner, and I'm excited to see you on the next one. So that's it for this conversation. I'm going to keep going down rabbit holes as we explore the weird and wonderful world of learning and development. If you want my full wrap up and takeaways, subscribe to my newsletter where I'll connect all the dots.